Hello and welcome to the Pretty Smart Business Podcast. I'm your host, Sheena White, and today is our very first episode. What? I'm super excited to launch this with you guys, and I'm super excited for my guest today. Her name is Renee Hastings, and Renee is the president and CEO of Executive Help Now. And it is a top virtual assistance service agency with over 15 years of experience. Renee and her team provide everything from administrative support, business consulting, and podcast production. If you're looking at this podcast and you're like, what the world? This is a great podcast. It looks so professional. Kudos to Renee and her team, 100%, all of them. As an entrepreneur since 1996, Renee holds a business management degree and has been a Dale Carnegie leadership coach. She appeared on NBC and is now serving as a speaker, a podcast host, an investor, a philanthropist, and a small group Bible study coach. Her mission is to help people free up time for life's most important moments. Thank you so much for being here and welcome, Renee.
Hello.
Yeah, so we first met on your podcast, Renee Speaks, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have this idea, and your podcast looks beautiful, so I want that." And then you guys made it happen, so thank you.
Ta-da!
I can't say enough amazing words about your team and everything you've done to make this kind of like wild hair up my butt.
And you know what I love the most, Sheena, is how the logo actually looks like your hair, like how you have it done. It's so amazing. I mean, you always have great hair anyway, but yeah, having you on our show was such a blessing. You shared so much valuable information, so many great tips, and your story about where you came from and how that guy like totally embezzled from you, and you guys were like in such a horrible place, and then you came back and you learned from those experiences, and then you just continue to grow and thrive from that. And kicking butt and taking names along the way. And now here you are helping other people like me and others on the show to be more effective as business people. And, so it's just so incredible, the work that you do. And I'm so grateful to be on your first live show.
I know, right? Oh, thank you. Okay. So, so on a different show, I'll go into all of my story about that, why I do what I do. But what I want to know today is what inspired you to start your virtual assistance business?
So my origin story kind of goes way back to the time when my grandfather actually moved his family from the South to the North to Wisconsin as a sharecropper in an Amish community.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And from that place, he ingrained in us, me, my cousins, my aunts, uncles, the importance of an incredible work ethic, because for miles around in the community where we lived, we were the only Black people. So everything we did was a reflection of the family and our work ethic. And so it was from that place of him being an entrepreneur. I call that, even though he was a sharecropper, but he still owned his own business eventually.
You know what? Sharecroppers are entrepreneurs, and they, have to, they have their rent, whether or not the crop comes up or not. So
absolutely.
That's for real.
Yes, 100%. And so from a little girl, it was ingrained in me, business, strong work ethic, and being a person of your word, because in that community where we lived, people made a deal with a handshake, like literally would shake your hand and the deal was done because they knew they could trust your word. And so as I started thinking about, as I'm going through school, my mom was a single mom, and she wanted us to take full advantage of all the opportunities that were available to us. And so she said, knowledge is power. And as a Black woman, you're going to have to work twice as hard to be considered half as good. So let me lay you a strong foundation. So she put me in this program called the Summer Youth Employment Program. And it was in this program, I was like 12, and they helped you identify your natural skills and gifts and gave you some jobs and allowed you to make money. And as a 12-year-old of a single mom, I needed to make some money.
You're
So
like,
I
yes,
did.
let's do it.
Yes, yes, we need money. And so I discovered at a very early age how good and how natural organizing things came for me. And so I developed this love and passion for helping other people and organizing things. And so for my next year in that summer program, I got to support a business owner. She was a Black woman franchise owner operator of a Norel Temporary Services.
Oh, okay.
And when I got to see that other women who looked like me were being successful in business, that was it for me. I was like, okay, when I get older, I'm going to run my own business because I see how her having this business in this community is changing so many lives. And that's
Hmm.
what I want to do. I want to impact lives and I want to change lives. So that was kind of the inspiration behind me, graduating at high school at 16 years old and then eventually going to college because not many people know, but I was a teen mom, and so when I graduated at 16, I had a 1-month-old son to take care of, and so that kind of, even though my plans were a little bit diverted, I still remembered what my mom said about the importance of education. So I went back to college as an adult and got my degree, and along the way, continued to work in my natural gifts and skills and talents as an assistant to executives. And after being an executive assistant to the C-suite for about 20 years,
Hmm.
I decided if I'm going to start a business, I need to start a business doing what I know how to do. And so that's where executive help now started, doing what I
I
know
love
how to do.
it. I love a lot of things about that story. First, I love that, you were inspired by a woman, you saw a woman who felt like she was similar to you, and so that inspired you. But then also, I think a lot of women as, young mothers, they allow that to kind of not just divert, but completely derail their
Mhm.
lives, and you took that and you went back. Like not a lot of people know this, but I actually got married at 19, right out of high school, and then my first husband, he became very abusive and he almost killed me 3 times, and it was really, really bad. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it was really bad.
Good
And
Louise.
so yeah, and so, and that kind of it kept me out of school for a while, but I decided to go back, and we did not have kids, but I decided to go back to school and got my degree. And sometimes I felt like, oh man, all these people that I went to high school with are so much farther ahead than me, and I put all this stuff on myself. But I think it's really inspiring to hear somebody else who like went back to school, later, to say, look, it's okay, like no matter what time, you can still get that degree, you can do the things you want to do, you can still start that business, like whatever is on your heart and whatever you want, like the time doesn't matter, you can still do it.
Absolutely, 100%. And I when I was in school and there were so
Hmm.
many other adult learners in the class, I was like, whether or not they were adults or they were teenagers, I wouldn't let the who was in the room phase me. I just knew I needed to be in the room. I
Hmm.
didn't care about whoever else was in there, whether they
Yeah.
were older than me or younger than me or what. I just knew I had more that I had to do with my life. And the more education you have, the less physical labor you have to do, if that makes sense to
Hmm.
anybody.
Yeah.
Than statistically anyway. And so I just wanted to be there, and I wanted to overcome, a stereotype that had been put on me as a child. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Most stereotypes are like, well, if you become a teen mom, then you're going to end up on welfare.
Hmm.
And then you're gonna be this, burden on the state, and then, you're gonna drop out of school. So I wanted none of those statistics to be a part of my story, and so I made it not a part of my story.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, and you know how, we're talking a lot, and that's funny because I have these questions and some of them are around resilience, and we just kind of went in there anyways. So, like, how do you define resilience, and why do you think it's really key in business?
So to me, I know there's this Webster's dictionary definition, and I'm sure it's right. But for me, resilience is this intestinal fortitude that comes from deep within, that gets you up out of any pit to keep on going and keep putting one foot in front of the other and not staying stagnant and not staying stuck. So that's what resilience is to me. And as a business owner, there are so many times and opportunities where I've had to be resilient. And
Mhm,
a lot of the resilience is born or birthed through trials and tribulations,
mhm.
and lessons, life lessons, and lessons that you learn. And, as a business owner, when you're working a corporate job, you have your tasks to do. You do your little things, and then you go home, you get your paycheck, you take your paid vacations and all the things, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you are a business owner, you have to have these hard conversations with people that you never would have known you'd have to have these hard conversations with. You'd have to have scary conversations, making deals, negotiating things, and all of the things that you never have to do when you work a corporate 9 to 5, in my
Mhm,
particular role. And so all of this was exposing me to new and different and very scary places. And so I had to be resilient in how I responded to these opportunities and not get floored by them, not get flustered by them, but actually what helped me to get through them was surrounding myself with a circle of people who have already been there, done that. So they were
mhm.
able to give me wise counsel. And I had, multiple people to speak into me to help give me guidance and wisdom. And of course, being, a woman of faith, I prayed a whole lot. And I'm like, Lord, okay, what we gonna do now?
Every day praying.
All
I was
day.
um one of my mentors, he was asked about faith the other day and he's like, I think faith is in everything. He's like, there's nothing I do without faith. And I was like, you know what? I like that because I feel like every step I've taken my entire life was on faith, and every step I
Mhm.
continue to take, there's so much faith behind it. Faith
Yeah.
in God and faith in, the abilities he's given me, faith in my purpose, all of that sort of stuff.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, I think sometimes he get tired of hearing from me because
He doesn't though. I don't think he does. I don't think he
I'll be
does.
like all day, like, "It's me again, Lord."
Like, hey, no, he wants to be our friend. It's cool. It's cool. Um, so what advice do you have for entrepreneurs struggling to connect with the right people? Because you said you have a great group, a great like circle. How did you find that circle?
So they say that great people know other great people,
Hmm.
and I have found that to be very true. So in networking, one of the pieces of advice that I was given when I was first starting the business was to tell everybody. Tell everybody what you're doing. Everybody you know, let them know what you're doing,
Hmm.
and tell them that you're looking for customers.
Well, it's like
And
realtors, right? They say like, how do you know someone's a realtor? They tell you. But I mean, that's a really great. That's a
right.
really. It's like they're doing something right, right?
Yeah,
They tell everybody.
absolutely. 100%. So I started telling everybody that I knew what I was doing. And then one person that I met said, "Oh, you know what? I'm getting ready to do a family reunion. Can you help me with that?" Planning all, and so that was one of the first, dips my toe dip in the pool of a client. And then my next client, speaking of real estate, was actually a real estate agent.
And you knew that because she told you.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I was able to help him with his marketing and developing drip campaigns and a newsletter for his community and just different things. And so, anyways, it was a really great way for me to start networking. And I put networking in air quotes for those that are just listening only, because the network is your net worth. I've heard
Mhm.
that said so many times. And one of my new good friends, Christopher Plumley, was the latest to say it. Your net work is your net worth. And so the more you get out to community events, talking to people, just not so much about you and what you do, but
Mhm.
about them and what they do, you can become a connector of people. And the more you can become a connector of people, the wider your network is going to grow.
Oh, yeah.
And I have found that to be absolutely 100% true. So when you go into a networking event, whether it's to a chamber meeting that you get invited to, or a breakfast meeting that you get to go to, learn as much as you can
Mhm.
about other people who are there and what their pain points are, what their needs are, and how who in your network might be able to fill that gap for them. Then that's how you become known and remembered and a great resource to people, and that's how your business will continue to grow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have friends that they'll like, call me. They're like, "I know you know somebody who does blank." You know, like I know you know somebody. You know, like of
Right.
course I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is it's they always say it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Mhm. Yeah,
So, be known,
absolutely.
stand out. So, and then, how has your network helped you overcome some challenges and seize opportunities?
So I would say, so part of my network includes a small group of Christian women business owners who are extremely successful and who have been through a lot so that they could share their lessons learned with me.
Hmm.
We also go through a curriculum of learning how to be a kingdom-based business in this world and with the services that we get to offer and that sort of thing. And it's through these relationships or these connections that I'm able to dive a little bit deeper into what my actual needs are as a business owner so that I can get better, stronger, more resilient, um, and get another perspective from someone who has been through different experiences but kind of ended up in the same place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100.
So, yeah, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's always nice to have that connection and so you don't feel so alone. I think especially as as women entrepreneurs, sometimes it can be a lonely road, you know? And so
Yeah.
having those people that can kind of like weather the storm with you and keep you grounded and keep you pushing forward is super important.
And one of the things too, so this is a different small group of ladies. This is my my Bible study group of ladies. When I was first starting the business, we have there's something in us that says, yes, this is what you were meant to do.
Mhm.
You're doing what you're supposed to do, and you are living out your purpose. But then as things start to come together and fall in place and the business is growing and God is just blessing your socks off, if that's not something that you're used to having happen and you're used to just kind of taking life as it comes and just
Mhm.
being not in expectation of anything great, but just or any abundance or
Mhm.
anything big happening in your life, but then big things start to happen, it can be so freaky, and I was so freaked out when it started happening. I had to go to my small group ladies. I was like, "Y'all, something is wrong with me." I said, "All these great things are happening, and I'm terrified. What is going on?" And they were just reassuring me and so comforting to me and just saying, God is just keeping his promises to you. You've
Mhm.
been faithful and you have done this and you've done this and blah, 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 blah. And not blah, blah, blah. Like, they were
Yeah.
they were so comforting to me and just what I needed, almost like a ram in the bush, because it was truly a place that was unfamiliar and unexpected and just took me by complete and total surprise. And then, but the more they spoke into me, the more I got, grounded and settled and being the recipient of something good, then it was easier for me to continue to progress from that point.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes it's hard to when you've kind of trained yourself to temper your expectations so that you don't feel disappointment. And
Mhm.
then when good stuff happens, then you're like you kind of Brene Brown calls it foreboding joy, where
Mm.
you don't trust it because you're like, no, no, like you're getting right, like you're like almost bracing yourself for the bad still.
Mhm, mhm.
And so kind of like,
Foreboding joy. I've never heard of
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. She talks about it a lot. I couldn't tell you which book she talks about it because I wrote them all and they're kind of together, but in my brain. But yeah, she talks about foreboding joy and kind of like how to work through that so you can really like live in the moment and live in the happiness of the good things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna have to find that, because I mean, that was a while ago, and so
Mhm.
it's been a couple years, and so I've been able to kind of get used to being in expectation of the good things and being
Mhm.
hopeful because, you know, when you say I have a friend who says all the time, "Keep hope alive." And now what that it takes on a whole new meaning when those words are ringing in my ears because when you have hope, it keeps you optimistic. It keeps you looking and in expectation of great things. And so some of my friends actually tease me about having kind of like a rainbows and skittles kind of personality and not everything is great and everything nothing's ever bad and that sort of thing, but which is not entirely true. And you know, but I try to stay so optimistic and so positive that doubt and this insecurity don't have an opportunity to take hold or take root into my life. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, it makes complete sense. And I think that, we have the choice to look at everything happening to us or everything happening for us. We can choose to see, because even in really bad, hard things, that aren't ideal, that just suck when you're going through them, you can still learn something. You can still grow from them. Like, you really don't grow when you're winning. You do your most growth and your most the good nitty-gritty stuff when you're actually like in the poopies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have to have those times, right? I mean, I feel like there's a plant and I can't remember the plant, but it literally like only grows in poo. And I feel like
Oh.
humans are really like that plant. We gotta like chill out in there and then we sprout up and we're pretty and
Right,
delicious. So
right. Oh man, the things that we go through, I'm telling you, when you're in the trenches and it
mhm.
seems like sometimes just trudging through the garbage dump, sometimes trying to claw your way out from the bottom
Mhm.
of the bin, you know, you come out kind of stinky or whatever, but how strong and how resilient and how much more intestinal fortitude gets developed in that journey or in that valley or in that time and in that
Mhm.
place. So I love the the opportunities to grow, even though they can sometimes seem very, very challenging.
Yeah, it's hard to see the other side when you're in it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about executive help now and especially the podcasting production. So your podcast is so beautiful. And as I said, when I was on it, I was like, I must have this for my podcast. So how did you go about kind of designing that process? And then who is the most ideal like podcaster for you guys? I know you're taking more clients, so let's talk about it.
Yes, we absolutely are. So I have to give a shout out to Chris Stone of Cast Ahead. Chris Stone was with Sony for 25 years and even and ended up going out on his own producing shows for
Hmm.
podcast shows for his own clients. And it was actually when he was producing a show for Dan Jordan, who was a friend that I met through my network. Um, Dan asked me to be a guest on his show. Well, Chris was producing the show. And so when Chris talked to at the end, you know, there's a green room time
Hmm.
of chit chatting, and Chris asked me more questions about what it is that we do, and he said, I wonder if you can help me because I really don't like all the work that goes into putting on a show. It's a lot of
It
work,
is a lot of work. Yeah.
and I can't. His thing is, I can't grow and scale if I have to be the person doing all the things. So if I had someone else that I could train up to do what I do, maybe I could grow my business. And that's exactly what happened. And
Love
so
it.
Chris told us of, the things that's necessary to make a great show. And we just kind of took that and ran with it. And now here we are producing great shows, but it couldn't have started without him. So I owe everything in this podcasting line of business to Chris. And so I just want to thank him, number one, for that. And then now that we have produced over 100 shows, thanks to, yeah, says Chris doing is the best. Yes, he absolutely is. Now that we have produced over 100 shows, we have our systems in place. We've got all of the things that are necessary where we can actually churn out a repeat of all the different shows simply, within a short period of time, because we've already got the foundation laid, we've already got the systems in place, and we've already got a structure. So if anyone wants to have a podcast, but they know how hard it is, all the details of trying to find a guest, all of the details in the guest communications, all of the setting up the shows and making sure that all the lighting and all the people show up right, and they show up, you can hear them and see them well. And then, on the back end, all the editing and reposting and repurposing and it's a lot, y'all. It's a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what we get up in the morning to do. We look forward to doing those things for other people. So if you want a podcast where you can just show up and talk, like I do on my show, I just show up and talk. I'm like, okay, May, what are we doing? Who am I talking to? What am I asking them?
No, I mean, this is for real. So I think sometimes, okay, so I've had other people talk about podcasts and stuff like that. They're like, oh, you can do this. And then they're like, I need this and this. And it's like 15 million trillion different things. Like, this is not very hands off. For real, everybody, when Renee says all you have to do is show up and talk, that is true. They like email you all the dossiers ahead of time. They get all the guests, everything. I mean, soup to nuts. All you do is show up and talk. And I mean, even for me, like we didn't even have a logo. They created the logo. It's beautiful. I love it so much. It's everything I wanted, and I really did not give very good directions. So the fact that somehow they plucked it out of their head, to me, that's actually shows me even more that it was divinely put in my heart, because somehow you guys just knew what I wanted, and so that there's no way unless it was divine inspiration. But anyways, point being, 100% yes, show up and talk. I can't say enough. I can't say enough great things. So
well, thank you so much. We have an amazing podcast production team, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of them. And yeah, they are here. They are at your service. And so we love it. And thank you, Tori, for chiming in the comments about our congrats on 100 episodes. Thank you so much. And we have so many great comments in the chat.
Oh yeah, and saying May and Krisha and the whole team. Oh my gosh, so many shout outs. Okay, so when people are like, you know what, I am overwhelmed by my business, or I have this podcast and it is just making me want to die, how can people connect with you so that they can get some help now?
Well, you definitely want to go to the website. So the website is www.executivehelpnow.org. But within that website of executivehelpnow.org is a little button on the side that says podcast services. You see my phone number up at the top, 678-782-8820. Feel free to give me a shout if you have any questions. There's also a form on the website where people can submit questions. And the podcast production leg of the business is called Live Stream Editors. And it's within Live Stream Editors that we actually promote more of our podcast services, where we have right here as the boldest headline, as a host, wouldn't it be great if you could just show up and talk?
It is great. It is really great. It would be great, and it is great. So do it.
Yes, we got a witness, our very own testimony.
Yes. It's great.
I love it. So yes, that's at livestreameditors.com. There's also a form there as well if you want to tell us a little bit more about your goals and desires, or if you already have a show and how you want it to be different, or if you are thinking about hosting a show but you're intimidated by the amount of time that it takes to produce. We can take all that off your hands. So yes, definitely reach out. We are here for you.
Yes. And then you have your own podcast.
Yes, yes, I have my own podcast. It is called Renee Speaks, and we go live every first Friday of the month. And guess what tomorrow is, y'all?
Whoop, whoop.
Tomorrow is the first Friday of the month, and we go live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, where you can join us. And we have amazing guests on our show that help entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs is how we were initially established, as a platform for women entrepreneurs to get resources and tools and subject matter experts to help them along their entrepreneurial journey. So, thanks, Marie. Marie says Renee's best. I appreciate that.
I agree. I agree.
And so, yeah, tune in tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Renee, for being my first live guest and also for every single thing that you and your team have done. I feel like it was literally, it was kismet, it was divine timing that we connected for so many reasons that I can't even go into on this show. But thank you so much. And it has been amazing. And I am so excited for everything we are doing together in the future.
Awesome. Same here. The feeling is so mutual. Thank you, Sheena. You were
Thank you.
made for something great. So go and be
Ditto.
awesome.
Ditto.